There's a powerful, silent strength in your absence that can leave a lasting impact on someone, especially when they've taken you for granted. Often, when we're in the midst of a relationship, it's easy to get caught up in the ebb and flow of daily interactions, routines, and compromises. But when you remove yourself, when you step back from the person who has overlooked your value, it forces them to confront the space you once occupied. Your absence becomes an undeniable presence, a reflection that they can't ignore. When someone hasn't fully appreciated what you've given them, it's only in your absence that they begin to realize the depth of what they had. This is not to say that your absence is a punishment. Rather, it's a natural consequence of giving more than you receive, of being in a dynamic where one person's needs are being consistently overlooked. When you remove yourself from the situation, it's not just the physical absence they feel, it's the emotional vacuum, the loss of someone who cared deeply for them. And that feeling can't be easily ignored. Often, we stay in situations or relationships because we hope that by giving more, by being there for them, they will eventually recognize our worth. But what we don't realize is that sometimes people don't truly understand what they have until it's gone. Your presence can become so familiar to them that they stop seeing it as something rare, valuable, and irreplaceable. It's in this very moment, when you decide to step away, that the magnitude of your contribution to their life starts to hit them. They begin to notice what they've lost and question what went wrong. In your absence, the silence becomes a mirror. It reflects everything that was unsaid, all the emotions that were buried under the weight of the relationship. It forces them to confront the truth of their actions, or lack thereof, and how it led to the space between you. When you leave, when you decide that your energy is no longer available to someone who hasn't valued it, it's as if you're holding up a mirror to their behavior. They see their own reflection in your absence, and that reflection may not be as flattering as they hoped. They can no longer hide behind excuses, distractions, or their own insecurities. The truth about how they treated you becomes impossible to ignore. The impact of your absence isn't immediate. It doesn't always hit them the moment you walk away. At first, there might be denial, confusion, even anger. They may try to convince themselves that they didn't need you or that your absence is insignificant. But over time, the emptiness left by your departure becomes louder. The absence of your energy, your presence, and the things you brought into their life starts to take a toll on them. It forces them to ask themselves questions that they may have been avoiding. Why didn't I appreciate them more? Why didn't I listen when they expressed their feelings? What did I lose by not valuing what they offered? Your absence isn't about punishment. It's about creating space for them to grow and reflect. Sometimes people don't realize the weight of their actions until they are left to face the consequences of their behavior. By walking away, you're giving them the opportunity to do that. They have no choice but to sit with their own thoughts and feelings, to revisit the relationship from a different perspective. They are no longer distracted by your presence, and they are forced to confront the reality of their decisions. For you, stepping away is an act of self-respect. It's a choice to no longer accept the neglect or mistreatment that you once endured. It's about reclaiming your own sense of worth and putting yourself first for once. In doing so, you also set an example of the respect you deserve. When you stop making excuses for someone else's behavior and stop enabling them, you force them to see the truth, that the relationship cannot thrive on one-sided effort. That real love, real connection requires mutual effort, appreciation, and respect. But more than anything, your absence gives you the space you need to heal and grow. It allows you to rediscover who you are outside of the relationship, outside of the dynamic that may have drained you emotionally. It gives you the opportunity to focus on your own needs, dreams, and goals without constantly putting someone else's ahead of your own. This space is necessary for you to regain your power, your energy, and your confidence. You can't fully evolve and move forward if you're constantly tethered to someone who isn't fully committed to valuing you. As you continue to grow and move forward, you'll realize that your absence wasn't just a lesson for them. It was a lesson for you too. You will understand the importance of setting boundaries, knowing your worth, and not settling for anything less than what you deserve. Your absence will remind you that you are enough on your own, that your value is inherent, and that you don't need to convince anyone to see it. So let your absence be the force that causes them to reflect. Let them sit in the discomfort of their own actions. Let them feel the weight of the space you once filled. You're not doing it out of spite or anger. You're doing it because it's time for them to understand what they had and what they lost. And if in the end they realize the mistake they made and come back, it will be because they finally understood your value, not because you begged them to. And if they don't, you'll know that you're better off without someone who couldn't see the incredible person standing right in front of them. Ultimately, your absence is a gift, both to them and to yourself. It's the space needed for clarity, growth, and healing. And it's through that absence that the most important lesson will be learned, that you are irreplaceable and your worth can never be taken for granted. Your worth cannot be taken for granted. It's a powerful truth that we must internalize and uphold in every relationship and situation. Too often, people are made to feel as though their time, love, and energy are disposable, that they can be given freely without acknowledgement or appreciation. We settle for being taken for granted, convinced that love or loyalty should suffice as enough of a reason to endure. But the reality is much more profound. Your worth is not something that can be minimized, overlooked, or devalued. It is something that demands respect, recognition, and reverence. When you give and give, expecting only kindness, love, and reciprocity in return, it's easy to become disillusioned when those expectations aren't met. You might love deeply, care passionately, and pour your energy into someone else, only to find that your contributions aren't valued as they should be. When that happens, it's essential to take a step back and realize that your worth isn't defined by how others treat you, especially when they fail to recognize it. When someone takes you for granted, it often comes from a place of comfort and familiarity. They may start to believe that you will always be there, no matter what. They think they can overlook your needs, disregard your feelings, and still expect you to show up when they need you. They might mistake your kindness for weakness or your loyalty for dependence. But this couldn't be further from the truth. Your worth is not conditional, and it should never be treated as such. This situation is not a reflection of you, but rather of them. People who take others for granted are often caught in their own complacency, oblivious to the emotional toll they might be placing on someone who has given them everything. When you continuously give to someone without receiving the same level of commitment or appreciation, it starts to wear down your sense of self-worth. You begin to wonder if you're doing something wrong, or if perhaps you don't deserve the love and respect you're so freely giving. But here's the truth. It's not you, it's them. They are failing to see the gift that you are, the value that you bring, and the strength you possess. They've gotten so comfortable in your presence that they've forgotten how rare it is to have someone who loves, supports, and stands by them as you do. When you recognize that your worth cannot be taken for granted, you begin to shift the dynamics of the relationship. This doesn't mean you stop loving or caring for them. It means you stop giving away parts of yourself that deserve to be valued. It means you set boundaries, stop overextending yourself, and start expecting the same level of respect, attention, and consideration that you give so freely. The moment you stop allowing your worth to be undervalued, you reclaim your power. You send a message that your time and energy are precious, and you won't settle for anything less than mutual respect and genuine appreciation. It's not about being selfish or asking for too much. It's about acknowledging that you deserve to be loved with the same intensity, thoughtfulness, and respect that you offer. It's about honoring your own needs and desires and ensuring that the people in your life understand the value of what you bring. When someone values you, they make an effort to show it. They recognize your contributions, appreciate your presence, and make sure you never feel invisible. If they fail to do so, it's a reflection of how little they understand your worth. Setting boundaries in a relationship doesn't mean you love less. It means you love yourself more. When you stop tolerating neglect or mistreatment, you are reminding both yourself and others that you are worthy of respect. You are teaching those around you how to treat you and setting the standard for how you expect to be treated. It's an empowering act to demand what you deserve and expect nothing less. If someone truly values you, they will respect the boundaries you set. If they don't, then they're not the person who deserves to receive your love and affection. We often hear the phrase, "You teach people how to treat you," and it's absolutely true. If you allow someone to take you for granted without consequences, you're essentially telling them that it's okay to do so. If you constantly make excuses for their behavior, putting their needs above your own, you allow them to believe that you are limitless, that your patience and love have no boundaries. But in reality, everyone has limits. Everyone deserves to be seen, heard, and respected. The most powerful thing you can do when faced with someone who takes you for granted is to step back. This doesn't mean you walk away in anger or frustration. It means you take a moment to reassess the relationship and make sure it's serving you as much as it is serving them. If they truly value you, they will realize that you've pulled away and take the necessary steps to show that they appreciate your presence in their life. If they don't, that's your answer. Your worth should never be contingent on someone else's recognition of it. Whether or not they see it, your value is intrinsic and undeniable. The right people will recognize it, appreciate it, and reflect it back to you. They will make sure that you never have to question your worth because they will prove it to you in their actions. Those who cannot appreciate your value are not worth your time, energy, or love. As you begin to recognize that your worth cannot be taken for granted, you start to elevate yourself. You start to expect the best for yourself, not out of entitlement, but out of self-respect. You begin to surround yourself with people who uplift you, who see your value and reciprocate it. You begin to stand tall in your own strength, knowing that you are worthy of love, care, and appreciation, and that you will never again settle for less than what you deserve. Your worth is not for sale. It is not to be negotiated, and it is certainly not to be taken for granted. It is a gift that is given freely, but only to those who understand how precious it is. When you step into your worth, you stop waiting for validation, and you start living your life from a place of self-assurance and power. No one should ever make you feel like you are not enough. You are enough. You always have been. In every relationship, actions have consequences. Often we are so caught up in the emotional dynamics that we forget to recognize the long-term impact of someone's behavior on us. The truth is, sometimes the best way to teach someone the value of your presence in their life is to allow them to experience the consequences of their actions. When someone consistently fails to treat you with the respect, love, and care you deserve, stepping back and letting them feel the absence of you can be one of the most powerful tools you have. It's not about seeking revenge or causing pain. It's about teaching them that their behavior has weight. And when you are no longer present in their life, that weight becomes undeniable. Many times, people get so comfortable in relationships that they take their partner's love and effort for granted. They may ignore your needs, take advantage of your patience, or disrespect you in small, subtle ways. In these situations, it is crucial to understand that your value is not to be overshadowed or minimized by someone else's negligence. Your actions, your love, your commitment are all worthy of being honored and appreciated. If they are not, it is essential for you to step back, allow some distance, and give the person the space to experience the consequences of their behavior. By withdrawing, by creating some emotional or physical space, you begin to communicate the depth of the impact their actions have had on you. This isn't a way to punish them. Instead, it's a way to help them understand what they stand to lose if they continue treating you poorly. Often, people do not realize how much someone means to them until they are no longer there. In relationships where one person consistently overlooks the other's feelings, this absence becomes the loudest statement possible. The silence forces reflection, forcing the person to evaluate their actions and the consequences they have had on the relationship. Allowing someone to experience the absence of your presence teaches them a valuable lesson you cannot be taken for granted. Many times we remain in relationships or situations, hoping that by staying, things will improve. We wait for change, we put up with behavior that diminishes our sense of self-worth, and we believe that our continued presence will be enough to make the other person realize their mistakes. However, people often do not change until they are forced to feel the impact of their actions. When you remove yourself, when you make it clear that you will no longer tolerate being treated poorly, you create a space for them to experience firsthand what it's like without you. In that moment of absence, they are left to confront their behavior. They begin to miss your company, your love, your energy, And that's when the reality of their actions starts to sink in. They may have taken you for granted before, assuming you would always be there to forgive their mistakes, to pick up the pieces, or to overlook their flaws. But when you create distance, it forces them to reckon with the consequences of their behavior. They can no longer take your presence for granted. The reality is that once you step back, they might feel a sense of loss, regret, and even confusion. This is exactly what you need in order for them to understand the depth of their actions and the hurt they've caused. One of the most important things to understand in relationships is that respect and appreciation should never be assumed. We should never assume that our love will be reciprocated, that our patience will be understood, or that the other person will always show us the care we deserve. If someone repeatedly disrespects you, if they continue to act without considering how their actions impact you, it is time to stop being the one who always forgives and forgets. Instead, make them face the emotional consequences of their actions. Let them experience the reality of their behavior and allow that space to lead to reflection. Sometimes it is only when the person begins to feel the absence of your energy, affection, and support that they truly understand what they've lost. This is not about playing games or trying to force them to change. It's about understanding that actions have consequences, and that those consequences don't always have to come from a place of anger or frustration. They can come from simply allowing someone to feel what it's like to lose the love and care you bring to their life. This process is not just about the other person, it's also about you. By stepping back, you take control of your own well-being. You stop tolerating behaviors that are beneath you, and you assert your own worth. You recognize that you are deserving of respect, loyalty, and love, and that you should not have to settle for less. Allowing someone to experience the consequences of their actions also gives you the chance to reclaim your own peace and healing. You stop sacrificing your emotional energy and start investing it in yourself. This space allows you to rediscover your own worth, to reflect on your own needs and desires, and to make sure that you are prioritizing yourself in ways you might not have been before. The distance you create serves as an opportunity for growth for both you and the other person. It gives both parties the time to reflect on the dynamics of the relationship and the ways in which each person contributes to it. Ultimately, letting someone experience the consequences of their actions is a way of empowering yourself. It's a reminder that you are not someone who should be easily dismissed or disregarded. You are not an afterthought. Your love, your effort, your time, and your presence have value. And anyone who fails to see that is going to learn the importance of appreciating you when you are no longer available. In doing this, you also allow the person to see themselves more clearly. Sometimes people act out of habit without truly understanding the emotional toll their actions have on others. By withdrawing, you give them the chance to reflect, to learn from their mistakes, and to grow. This process is ultimately for both of you. It's for the person who needs to learn to value you and for you to find your own peace and self-worth. Let them feel the consequences of their actions, but always remember that your own healing, growth, and strength are at the forefront of this journey. It's about reclaiming your power. In a world that often asks us to give, compromise, and adapt for others, it's easy to lose touch with the one thing that truly belongs to us: our personal power. The power to control our emotions, the power to define our boundaries, and the power to shape our own destiny. Whether we realize it or not, we are constantly handing over pieces of ourselves to the people and situations around us. And in doing so, we forget that our personal power is a wellspring within us, one that should never be taken for granted or overlooked. Reclaiming your power isn't a one-time decision, it's a continuous process. It's about understanding that your energy, time, and emotional well-being are precious and deserving of protection. It's about recognizing that you are worthy of respect, love, and appreciation, not just from others, but most importantly, from yourself. When you reclaim your power, you step into a space where you no longer allow external circumstances to dictate how you feel, how you act, or how you interact with others. You no longer wait for validation from the outside world, because you know that the only validation you need comes from within. One of the first steps to reclaiming your power is recognizing when it's been given away. We often find ourselves in relationships, careers, or situations that drain us, leaving us feeling empty or diminished. It's easy to get caught up in the expectations and desires of others, always putting them first, sometimes at the expense of our own well-being. The people in your life may not even realize it, but by constantly meeting their needs or adapting to their demands, you are unintentionally giving away parts of your power. Whether it's bending over backward to please others, putting your dreams on hold to support someone else's, or tolerating disrespect, these small compromises slowly erode the strength of your sense of self. The moment you recognize that your power has been compromised is the moment you can begin to take it back. It begins with setting clear boundaries. Boundaries are a reflection of self-love and respect. When you set boundaries, you are telling the world that you are worthy of respect and that your needs matter just as much as anyone else's. You're sending the message that you will no longer accept being taken for granted or being treated as less than. Boundaries allow you to protect your emotional space and energy, ensuring that you are not giving away more than you can afford, physically or emotionally. And when you set these boundaries, you don't need to apologize for them. You don't need to feel guilty for protecting your well-being. Boundaries are essential to reclaiming your power. Another critical step in reclaiming your power is rediscovering your sense of self-worth. So often we tie our value to external factors, whether it's the approval of others, our achievements, or our relationships. But real power comes from within. When you fully embrace your worth, independent of external validation, you stand firm in your strength. Your worth isn't determined by how much you give to others, how much you sacrifice, or how much you tolerate. Your worth is inherent. You are enough exactly as you are. And when you remember that, you no longer feel the need to prove yourself to anyone. You become less dependent on others' opinions of you and more focused on what you know to be true about yourself. It's also about taking ownership of your decisions and actions. When you reclaim your power, you stop living in reaction to the world around you. Instead, you become the creator of your own life. You make decisions based on what aligns with your values, your goals, and your happiness, not on what others expect from you. You stop waiting for permission to live the life you deserve. Taking ownership of your life means accepting responsibility for your choices and embracing the consequences of those choices, good or bad. But it also means having the courage to change direction when necessary. It means taking risks and stepping outside your comfort zone because you trust yourself enough to know that you can handle whatever comes your way. Reclaiming your power requires a level of self-trust, a belief that you are capable of navigating through life's challenges without losing your sense of self. One of the most transformative ways to reclaim your power is by learning to let go of the things that no longer serve you. Whether it's toxic relationships, limiting beliefs, or outdated patterns of behavior, letting go is essential to personal growth. We often hold on to things because we fear losing them, whether it's people or comfort zones. But in reality, holding on to things that drain you, that keep you stuck, only serves to disempower you. Letting go can be difficult because it requires stepping into the unknown, facing your fears, and embracing change. But when you let go of what no longer serves you, you create space for new opportunities, new experiences, and new growth. You stop holding yourself back by clinging to the past, and instead you embrace the future with open arms. This is where true empowerment lies. Lastly, reclaiming your power means learning to trust your intuition. Your inner voice is your most powerful guide, but so often we ignore it in favor of logic or the opinions of others. When you trust your intuition, you tap into a source of wisdom that knows what's best for you, often before your conscious mind does. Your intuition is your soul's compass, guiding you toward the people, situations, and decisions that align with your true self. Trusting it means allowing yourself to step away from the noise of external influence and tuning into the quiet, yet powerful guidance within. When you trust yourself, you stop second-guessing your decisions. You stop seeking approval from others. You start living in alignment with who you truly are. Reclaiming your power is a deeply personal journey. It's about recognizing that your worth is not defined by how much you give to others, how much you sacrifice, or how much you tolerate. It's about understanding that you are deserving of love, respect, and care. just as much as anyone else. It's about setting boundaries, trusting yourself, and letting go of what no longer serves you. And most importantly, it's about stepping into your own power, owning your worth, and living your life from a place of strength and self-respect. When you reclaim your power, you shift from being a passive participant in your own life to an active creator of your destiny. You no longer allow anyone or anything to diminish your worth. You begin to take control of your happiness, your peace, and your future. You are no longer at the mercy of external forces. Instead, you are the force that shapes your life. Reclaiming your power is a declaration to the world that you will no longer allow anything or anyone to hold you back from living the life you deserve.